Yeah.
District does that now?
Yes, and I frankly not certain that I wanted that job anyway.
If that bothers you.
Yeah.
Anyone can show up, I just want to know that when they get beat up and process. It's gotta be, you understand? No, it's gonna be- I still got 3 words that we can live in there. Yeah.
I mean, Travis will come in with 30 seconds to spare.
Does.
Always.
Those of you that don't know, Jason Driscoll is our Pritchard County representative. He lives here locally. We're grateful to have him here, live here locally. They do our minerals and industrial appraisals for us.
Pipelines.
Pipelines, industrial, mineral. They also do our ag schedules for us. Troy Draper. His last name like me. I was going through my
Rolodex.
I was in my mind, I was like going through my emails and yeah,
It gets better as you get older. Too.
yeah, I know.
Your house is.
Mine?
Yes.
I'm like about to go crazy with getting it.
You're tricky, like your friend I drove by yesterday. It looks awesome. Hey, we drove by. I was like,
Yes. Look
Thank
up.
you. I love is the Christmas tree, and this year I like tried to talk myself into good
It's gonna be a closed
art
meeting.
because I
We're
would
gonna
have
have
said
to
it
like stop
earlier
it.
and I held out.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
It's coming in.
That's real.
Oh, we'll come get you.
So I go to Wait Moore's every year in Portland, and she calls me when they open up, and she knows what size and whatever, it's just a full 108, full one with a side for me, and this one may be picked out, and so I'm like, okay. But Christmas tree is my jam. Well, thank you.
Ray, how's your girl doing in college in first semester?
Good, I just talked to her. Struggling with German.
Oh, yeah.
Said he come in with 30 seconds to spare.
2 minutes.
Oh, but can you just stand outside? So I can win. Yes, I said, Jack said, well. You can skip next meeting.
I will tell you, at noon today, I only heard from Chloe. I had a text from her saying, I wanted to talk to you about the appraisal process. So I hadn't heard from you or Larry, and I mean,
I just saw that email, yeah, I went back and read your email, I didn't realize it was a, let me know if you're coming email, I thought it was just a reminder since the agenda came out, so I skimmed it and I was like, yeah.
So he told you.
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. So I apologize, I did respond like 5 minutes ago.
I saw that.
Did you?
I got my phone out here today. Hey, yeah, like I said, 10 o'clock to noon, I was in
Just for Anna.
and speaking. Well, maybe put it off, but.
No. Then I started worrying, yeah, what time was the meeting after my lunch?
No, that too, but I'm thinking that-
I thought 35.
I don't know, is Anna not coming?
Hadn't heard.
You haven't heard of it, right?
Tells either you or me when she is coming, so I don't look for the deal unless she says something. Okay, well, I have 2 o'clock. That being said, I'll call the meeting to order. Note the presence of the quorum. And first item on the agenda is the minutes from November the 10th. Earlier. And a motion regarding their approval.
I wasn't there, so I can't do it.
Oh, that's correct. There's a second?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. I don't know if it's going to be heard. You want to be a citizen, Ray, or you want to? And there's nobody on the web, correct?
I can go with you one more time. Yeah. And normally it's a quick answer. There's only one participant, that's us, so. There's only one participant, that's us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll skip the citizens to be heard and jump on to item number 4, which is consideration of possible action on that.
So these are sealed bid. I got one bid. It's from the bank that we currently use, so
Oh, thank goodness.
it is sealed. And you can open it.
I don't know who the bank is. You did on the exchange on the accounts.
Well, I asked Mark to check the legality of, as the school district did, allow for, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, if you remember, we were allowed 3 renewals without having to go back out for bid, because it's a painful process for the banks and for the presidency or whatever entity to have to go through a bid process and change back through.
We just did it.
Yeah.
We did it last year.
It was this.
No.
That was last year. Yeah. So then,
So basically, we have one bid. I always run these by my attorney just to give it a once over, just to make sure nothing's changed from the last. Anything that's wonky. You're looking for things that that are congruent with the public funds, discourse, all the language that's there. Any funds that are there, that they're gonna have pledge reports that come to us on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, monthly basis. Things like that. If they'll also disseminate their rate that they're carrying the checking account at. And so.
Do
Again,
you have the current proposal from them or the current contract with them?
I don't have it, no. This is,
Then the way that they present this would require us to, I can read it, but I don't know that we can comfortably take action on it unless you can compare. Other than the fact that it's the only bid. And that's,
that's what I was gonna ask. If there had been multiple banks submitting a bid, would we have received this prior to today?
well,
no, you
you
can't.
can't, it's a sealed bid.
Well, then I would, yeah, definitely we need to, I'll table it until.
The high points are this. They put this together for a period of 2 years with an option to extend for 1 2-year extension, starting January 2023. It's an interest-bearing account at the now rate plus 15 basis points, variable rate and subject to change. They have a premium money market account, variable rate. However, we only have one account, correct? So they have more that they're offering than we take advantage. 75 additional depository funds in aggregate. So we don't have $3 million or anywhere near that on deposit. Okay, what they're saying is they reserve the right to accept and decline additional depository funds in the aggregate in excess of. This does not jump into effect until January 1st, even if we approve it. But what I would like for you to do,
Sure.
is to get the high points and put it side by side so you can see are we signing up for anything more or less. And then
Would you just like that by email or?
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's already there. We would have to change. We're going to have to change too. I just want to know what it is that compares to what we already have in this. Okay. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Do we have to approve that at some point,
Yes.
even though it's the only bid?
Yes.
So do we have to do that before end of year? We have to have a special meeting to do that before end of year.
That says to take effect when?
January 1st. The other one doesn't expire. So it's not quite that stringent, but we can get that done.
If something changed.
Yes. I think if we get the opportunity to see the comparison and we know that we're going to likely stay, because there's no, like I said, there's nobody to change to. It's just what are we signing up for?
Yeah, the time period before the last board meeting, the time period for the bank bids to come in have not yet been done. Between last meeting and this meeting, it was done. And you have to see who you get in because you don't know how many bids you're gonna get. And then it's sealed, so you don't know what you're gonna see until you open it. Obviously, if I had some documents prepared for the last contract, you would be able to see before and after, but I don't know that you'd be able to consume it all right now anyway.
No, is there like a deck page or something that's
Well,
similar to where you can just compare the highlights? Okay.
yes, that's what I was just kind of reading from. Everything else is.
We have a bank,
My insurance.
But I also-
we have a banker on the board. I figure he
I
can
figure he can tell
tell me better on whether, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, mine's free, I mean, I didn't get it, but I just get it again. I mean, there's
About
other
our weeks for the rest.
Right, well, the next week's, I mean, it's done, but if nothing changes on it, it's very similar.
I don't have a problem before the end of this meeting giving you the old document if you want to look at it, but again, I don't want to rush you through any of that either.
Well, here's what I would propose. One thing that we don't know right now is, what's the expiration date on the contract that you have?
It's
Is it January?
it's the same thing, it's the whole 2-year cycle.
They don't give us much opportunity to go over it.
You know, there goes that wiggle room,
Yeah.
or this, not as stringent.
Okay, well, until we can compare those two items, and there's really only two things to say is the contract term and now cap plus 15 days, which we don't have anything else that we can.
Right here is the, thank you very much, Val.
Sure.
Uh,
So that's cautionary, this is for 28.
Yeah, this is 2018, so it would have been the
So that's
the 2-year plus the, yeah. And there's the summary page there, if you want to just read that aloud. It talks about basis points. And the amount,
It's significantly different in how they calculate interest bearing checking account, more 1.5 and an APY of 1.51. But it's got a floor of 1.5, and this just says variable rate at 15 basis points over the amount of that rate. Which in a rising rate environment, this could be better, but it's, you don't know that. If I knew what their now account rate was, I could at least tell you how it compares today to this. Maybe you could call Prosperity when we break into fund session to say, find out what their now account rate is.
no, can't rate.
And we only have one account, correct?
That's correct.
Let me ask you this though, since if it meets all government regulations and it is the only option we have. I'm not being smart ass, no, I'm like, do we have a choice?
Depends on what you call a choice. You could say we reject this and go back out and try to have somebody else bid. That's kind of what your option is.
All within 2 weeks.
On the two. I can tell you, having done these before, they are painful for the banks. Trying to.
There's a reason you're getting one, I doubt that you can probably bid it 4 times, and I doubt that we're gonna get.
Any
Yeah,
change?
if we can just, before we break today, if you can come back with what their now account is, at least I can say, this is what it is today, this is what it will become January 1st. And with only one account, there's really nothing else to compare it to.
You want to table it until the end of the meeting, or, I mean, before you adjourn, you can make a decision on
We'll
it.
still take action on it, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying table it, just
No, we're.
find that
gonna-
information
Yeah.
and get into the executive session
You get the now.
So it's really just the interest rate that we're talking about here.
and the term of the contract. And which is the same as what it was 2 years.
So the term we're okay on, because right now we're talking about interest rates and now that's all we're talking about. Well, tell me soon. We didn't include like, over the last year.
No, I do know that, it was about
What
a
dollar
year,
amount we're talking
year and a half ago that our rate went down, but they informed us because of, you were at that meeting.
This contract tells me there's a floor that's established.
Yes, yes,
So
but what we were receiving in 18 is not what we're receiving now. It was, somewhere between the start and the floor. Because we were at we were getting,
oh, you mean it was higher then,
Yes.
it never reached the floor?
That's
Okay,
correct.
That's fine.
and it was an informative letter because they did re-up one time without us having to go out.
Okay.
So we're at the mandatory, we had to go out for bid kind of thing.
How much do we earn in interest over a
We
year?
don't earn hardly anything.
That's from up one. I bet that's wondered how much we were debating here.
Yeah.
I'm for doing it correctly. I just, okay. Yes.
Mhm.
That must have been the other bid that came.
So I'd say, yeah, this is American Bank.
But that was in 18,
Yeah, okay.
but the board at that time.
Every time we were up against American Bank, we lost, so we just kind of quit trying. Yeah, okay. We just, if we know that number before we. can go,
Sure.
then we
She's getting
can
it.
Perhaps have an action item.
Okay.
Okay, you said we're gonna postpone that till we find that bit of information. Now we're at item number 5. I wouldn't say we're tabling this, we're just waiting on the information because after that, we officially have that.
I just said, yeah, move on.
Move on, Chief President's report.
You should have a document in front of you, supplemental appraisal presentation, which is the summary right here. And as always, you're welcome to look at the summary, group numbers, the certified role changes, for a remembrance that the supplemental role you can't really talk about, but you can have questions about. You can't have a decision-making process on it, but you can have questions about it. You can see the supplemental groups are 439, 440, 441, 442, and 443. This is when a role is certified, and then the scroll, as it were, the seal is broken. There's changes that go forward. Much of the time, it has to do with exemption and or litigations, lawsuits, arbitrations, things like that. So you can see that the very first group that you have homestead cap loss due to exemptions that were filed late. The same thing for number 2. The same thing for number 3. Late filing the disabled homestead exemption, homestead cap recovery. City of Aransas passed abandoned a road, and therefore they gave that road over to the adjacent property owners. Moving down to 440, there's a settlement of an ARD. Moving down, there's another late application. There's a multiple appraisal. Sometimes that happens where whenever there's a split or a merge, we do something wrong in error, and we charge this person twice what we should have, and so we're taking that away. Joint motions to correct, those are things that if the district and a citizen agree that there's an error, but it's either up or down, but they both agree, we can do what's called a joint motion. That's what this is. The next one that you see is an arbitration decision. Arbitration is again after the.
Am I just taking notes for minutes?
It's all recorded.
All right, great.
You're talking secretary one?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out who's taking notes.
Yeah, it's all recorded, but Val's been taking notes, but
That's what I
she'll
Welcome back.
Very good.
Moving down to 441, freeze, refreeze, that's an internal process that we do that has to do with exemptions. Same thing for 442. And then take action on account under ARB review. There's a 2525B that doesn't, there's no value change there. That's a summary that you have as far as the role change. I'll entertain any questions.
Only question I asked, probably on the next sheet, and that is its legal budget comparison. Let's turn the phrase I've not seen before.
Yeah, so I was asked by Travis.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. I was asked by Travis to put together or to gather some information. So you'll see 2 sheets here. The second sheet is the longer of the 2, which is like a spreadsheet. It looks like a spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet was all the respondents, and you'll see about 30 respondents that are there. And I put them in order of parcel count. So parcel count is the amount of parcels within a district, and you'll see that it starts at 21,000, goes all the way up to 1.8 million parcels. That's Harris County, which is the largest appraisal district in the United States. Some of these are relevant as far as size, some of them are not. And so I pulled in the second sheet of paper, which is this sheet of paper right here. And I pulled in the most relevant to size.
I wondered even
To ours.
there you go. And that was all the respondents over here, and then you pull it to this.
Yeah,
This came from after our last meeting. I sent in a question, like there was the online manual, what our process was off and the update that we required to, et cetera. Just didn't let that drop. And then also, I was always just curious, do we have an association? Do we have a place where we can data? Is there any place to benchmark data? When we're looking at our budget, it's great, but you know, our legal line item has dramatically increased over the last couple of years. We've talked about it a lot, and that was one specific I pulled out. I said, I'm just. If it goes high, I really don't know that it's out of line. My question was, you know, is there a way to see benchmark ourselves among other districts and see if we're way off, way under, or you know, something like that? And so this is what he came up with. So
yeah.
y'all may not be interested, but I found it.
Yeah, and if you look at those first through, I pulled in, through Bandera, here, and you can see that through Bandera, you look at these counties, Bosque is on there twice because I had some conflicting data. So I wanted to put both in. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The standpoint of, but there's very little change, 2.27, 2.30.
Yeah.
I understand that when I ask a question, you have 230 other chiefs that are trying to interpret the question, and they go, do they want this, or do they want that, or do they want there is a legal line item within every budget, but there's also, if you'll remember, during our audit phase, we always have a fund balance that's behind for legal, and some of the people were trying to break that, or some people were trying to include it. Again, I was trying to interpret the data as best I could, but in comparison, I used the stuff that was there through Bandera, which is 35,000 parcels, so 21,000, 35,000 parcels. You'll know that we're kind of in the middle at 29,000 and change parcels. And so this is the best representation here. And most of everybody's falling in this line. You have this one that's spending a lot of money, and we're right here. So we're $2.44.
So, yeah, I think, just 50,000 foot, I really was just wanted to see if there's a way we could make sure we weren't down. Yeah, and, if you are, then, then maybe you figure out why. If you're not, you go, okay, you're in line. I assume a lot of districts are dealing with, inflation, prices going up, a lot of the same things we are, so we're in line. I think that's without having an historical, I thought that was good.
Another situation for us to consider is, okay, how do we not become Coriel? What's their issue?
I thought
Where
that
is
is, where is that?
I don't know.
I'm gonna do that.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there are many of these districts that are very different. They're named, some people have they're very rich in minerals, meaning most of their accounts are mineral accounts or ag land accounts. And therefore the number of appeals are pretty minimal when it compares to different things. And therefore the arbitrations and lawsuits kind of take place. But then you have other places like Harris, Jefferson, which are right along the Texas Gulf Coast, and they're like shipping channel, they're industrial, although they're industrial and mineral as well. Those are the people that give a lot of suits, and therefore you'll see Harris is $6.10 per parcel, on their deals, and that's pretty big. But when you consider the complexity of the scope of work that they have there that you do not have here, you understand why.
For us too.
So this is just information.
What this is telling us is that we're about half what Coriel would be, and on par with counties essentially our same size for parcel, or at least within Spur.
And let's give them there, good, in comparison, there's a lot of activity there, that's,
Oh, that's Gillespie. That's what's supposed to be. Yeah.
oh, I assume it was.
Yes, I would say it's.
I thought I read that through it.
Anyways, that was a question that was posed by one of our board members, and I tried to answer it. So, the other thing that was talked about is just, is a point that we need to continually strive for, which is, to look at the manual more, as frequently, as necessary. And part of the discussion that I had with, Travis, led to the fact that, there's things that are in front of us right now, and if it's not in front of us, sometimes we just don't look at it as often as we should. And that's the reality of it. So we will look at the appraisal manual on a more periodic basis. It's a good encouragement for us to do. So
It's a good check and balances.
yeah. Well, it's good to articulate what you do and how you do it. Understand that I'm very aware that I've seen manuals that are this big, and I've seen manuals that are this big. And the thinness of a manual is very pointed, and it's very intentional for the open-endedness in which you have freedom in that, so I understand that we're not gonna write volumes because we don't want to paint ourselves in corners. We want to talk in generalities as it relates, but there are things that we need to address.
And so, in next year's compensation, how much input you really want? Well, that's like if I notice something that you don't want to read, you don't, I mean, nitpicking it, but do you want,
Well, there's
some input on?
there's a couple of things, as it relates to your duty as a board member. You have the duty to, either approve or disapprove or question a reappraisal plan. Part of the reappraisal plan is a addendum for which is a manual. So if you have a question about that, I obviously want to know about it. I want to know about it early. Because I don't want to get to that 2-year period and go, whoa, we can't approve this reappraisal plan because of item number 28 on page 17. I just want to know about what your concern is. Maybe it's a lack of understanding. Jack and I were talking about this earlier that you probably, Michaela, are more aware of what we do than you did 18 months ago. And just because you sit in, you ask questions, and there comes with that, that understanding is that sometimes you don't know what you're looking at, but sometimes you just need an answer. And so I obviously want to know about those things. And I want to know about them early. Because if you have a question, the most likely thing is that somebody else out there has a question. So. Right. Moving on, the other thing was miscellaneous. I have some good news, some possible good news. We've talked about MLS and sales data for a while. There is a new company out there that is offering a kind of a clearinghouse for some MLS data. I mean, I'm talking MLS data here locally. And it's derived from getting people in the mortgage industry and things like that. So there's a possibility that I can get sales for this last year's cycle, which is going to be really good for an entire year set. So we're in the process of getting a bid for that and see what that would cost us. I will keep this board informed. If I have the availability to get sales, I'm going to want to execute that. It goes into the accuracy of appraisal data. The more accurate we are, the better our school, when we're doing both our map review and our school study, it's going to be better because we have better.
Yeah, the clearinghouse, mortgage. How reliable is it?
Well, we looked at a data set. I had Eamon look at another data set. We kind of like pulling teeth because it is confidential in every appraisal district. But we did get a sample set, and what he did his analysis on was, is it just deed of trust, which is not very useful, or is it actually sales? And the answer is, we did some investigation and we found out that it's actually sales. So if it's actually sales, then it is the MLS data from another source.
So when you're looking at sales, though, you're including new construction, which oftentimes has new appliances and some, no?
Well, yes and no.
What are you looking at that?
It's not a sale until the construction is finished and it's been sold on tax rates.
Do you include, what I'm just making a comment about is oftentimes new construction include large appliances for like a resale one. So that was just throwing that out there for thoughts.
Yeah,
Or it includes like warranty.
I'll be right with you.
Because they will roll certain things.
Yeah, so
Construction that you might not see in.
Yeah, so the reality of there's something called a settlement statement that is a closing document in a title company. And line item 101 is the sales price. So that's like the top line number. Now from that, there's item 102, which is personal property. If it's delineated and understood by all the lending institutions to have value in personal property, it's delineated there. So hypothetically, if you had a property that was sold for $500,000, and they said, I have $50,000 of personal property, the bank would only lend on the $450,000. So most people don't want that information. They want the 500. So It's really what is that top line number? So you're asking an appraisal question, does it happen very frequently? Especially in places that are rental in nature. They're just gonna leave all that furniture, they're gonna leave all that stuff, but they're not really attributing any value to it, even though everybody in the room knows that there's value to it. I wish there was an easy answer, there's just not.
Just in general, it's something to draw reference to remember. All the new construction going on.
New construction doesn't really, I mean, like,
It's a problem.
no, not new construction. New construction is not really, I mean, you have new construction and then you have secondary sales within that same neighborhood. Those market forces figure what that's, I mean, the market tells us what that stuff is worth. So a brand new construction at 500 and then a resale at 495 or 510, it tells us something, it tells us that, those appliances don't mean much, in most cases.
If you can get that data and it's accurate and it's really MLS data, that's usually valuable to.
Absolutely.
Then you've
It's
thought,
like having a cheat sheet, but it's not cheap. I mean, it's, yeah, it's,
And,
I really don't know who else has used it and what their success has been with it.
yeah, well, Ray just got back from class and we talked
we're gonna
about
cheat
it.
on them, we wanna make sure.
I wanna make sure I'm
Yes,
cheating on
smart
that.
kid, that's right.
After I just spent the money.
Yeah, Ray just got back from a class, Chief Appraiser Institute class, and some of those districts are using that. I'm not gonna say the name of it, but they're using the source. And so there, if I said the name, you would all have said, oh yeah, I know that name. So they're using this source and they're excited about having the data. Those districts are excited about having the data because it's directly proportional to the accuracy of the our appraisals. Secondarily, it's very good for value. What do I mean by that? If we say, well, we don't know what it sold for, but it was last taken off the market at 500,000. And we know that the last percent of list is typically 95%, then it's 95% of the 500. But if we have the number, then we have the number. And we know that you paid 498.5 and we have it on the roll for 492. What's the problem? It's one of those, why are we doing what we're doing? We're here to just accurately appraise property. You get to this, citizens get to disagree with that, but if you have good evidence, then at the very least, people would say, yeah, we still choose to, the ARB can then choose to lower it if they want to, but again, better information is better information.
So when will you have that number?
I will have a quote by them probably by next week, at the latest. So I already have one quote from them for a certain date range, and I'm trying to extend that in the past some. And people will say, well, what's the value in having data in the past? It's validation of our schedules.
Of the alternative number?
Would you want it back to be put through, or I guess we're.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, I'll
Then talk to a signer.
I'm sorry. I'll be right there.
Really liked it. The ones you talked to,
Yeah, they're, it'll,
guaranteed 100%.
yeah, there's, some of them are struggling so bad that they like any source of data they can get, because they're failing different state examinations and stuff, checks. And so there's a desperation out there that's there for sure, for some districts. We're not in that boat.
Good say.
Yeah, we're not in that boat, so we're less desperate. But we would like to have the data.
I like that.
We would like to have the data that the tester is going to use against us if we can have it.
Absolutely.
If we can get there, then we can,
We
yeah.
believe it's that data 100.
yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at.
I know that, what's the now cap rate?
That's it here. No, that is, it's the 0.5 plus the 0.5. So it'd be 0.3.
Okay. All right, so we're going from 1 point.
No. Raising the candidates.
Yeah, well, I expected it to go down, but not like 1.5 to 0.3.
That's down.
Oh, wow.
And the only thing that is what you might hang your hat on is as long as we stay in an inflationary environment, rates will go up at the depository level slowly. Will ever get back up to 1.5?
Mhm.
Frankly, I guess from my standpoint, I think it doesn't, because I mean, inflation's waning. But if we don't make much money off of it anyway,
We don't count on it.
So to this day, I wish I had a dollar now, the meters being we're talking about 15 cents or.
Well,
0.5.
I'll tell you what, when we need her, I'll go to Josie and ask her to show it to me and I'll email it to you.
Well, in the last
Not
meeting,
that we can do anything about it, but it's just. That it's not worth losing the honestly.
well, and that's the point, is that in the last meeting, we always present financials, and part of that first section is interest, and it's always like, let's say it's like $6,000 over the year on so it's not on $1 million budget, it's not anything, like I said, there's not much there.
I said it's not. The flavor.
Okay. So is it your desire to accept this contract?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Okay. We might get 3,000 instead of 6,000.
Something like that. On the other part of the miscellaneous that I have, it's just, that, I introduced, Jason, we currently, are in the process of having our attorney research their most recent contract. It's not something that we have to put before the board, but we do need a signatory from the secretary of the board.
Or the chairman.
Or the chairman. So, but I'm having my attorney look through that contract right now. So, but it's not like a board decision that you need to make. We've never had to do that in the past, to my knowledge. So again, I'm having my attorney look at it. As long as they're okay with it, then, I can forward it to you or Anna, and then I can sign it. One of you two can sign it. So,
Okay.
I'm trying to think, what was the other issue that I said I was going to bring up? You remember? We talked about the, potential sales, that we can get the MLS, which is going to be huge. And you just need to know that if I get a thing and if within reason, if it's less than $7,000 for the entire data set, that it's probably going to be a phone call to you, Jack. And, if you want, I want to execute that before February, because we have to start putting, our tables together and everything else. So.
That
Brings us back to what's a de minimis value that we don't have to hold a meeting to get it done.
My only story is accuracy. If you feel it's accurate and you feel it is a true depiction of MLS, just do another source, but it is MLS. As Ray said, you've got the data you're being checked against, significant value in that, because the penalties, as we have seen, when you can speak to the penalties at the school level of where if we fail, it's a lot more than $7 grand.
It was 4 million this year.
So, to me, the dollar amount is everybody, well, in the pine end, but I don't think that when you're talking.
The check that the school had to write was 4 million.
4 million extra this year.
Yeah, and that was not due to the districts.
No,
that was
It's
just-
the state, it's attendance, it's enrollment, and it's 4 million extra.
What was
It was
the penalty? We had a penalty before in the past, right?
Yeah, it goes back to 2002, and it was $750,000.
You know, I'm doing a lot less.
We didn't have $750,000 out of check.
I mean, it's, you know, I would assume today if we screwed up, it'd be a bigger dollar amount, just because of what we're looking at. So when you're talking about 750 your base, you're not talking about small numbers here. So, you know, to me, there's 7,000 for 750 plus. If the data is accurate.
Michael, it's a contract for 1 year at a time?
You're talking about the Pritchard Abbott contract?
No, I'm talking
No.
about the.
Sales data.
It's a one-time snapshot, so they sell you the data. And that's what I'm getting the bid on right now, that's what I'm getting, I wanna know how far I can go back, so I want as much data as possible. I wanna maximize what the district spends.
Yeah.
But the next time that we do it, whatever that amount's gonna be, it's gonna be the same amount, so if I do it on an annual basis, I'm just gonna build it in the future budgets, yeah. Because it would be, at that point, I would be able to speak on its validity, its, you know, how accurate it is.
Where do we get this?
That's what I wanna know, as school district side of it, is what other school districts have had that are Robin Hood, have had that same. Anybody else, any other district that has utilized this company and or is a Robin Hood district, what's the accuracy?
I don't
Because that
know,
helps.
I don't know that I have that information.
No, but if I find that company, I can. You
Yes,
know,
I can tell you, I'm sure that, if we put the feelers out there, we would be able to put you in touch with districts that are currently using it. You need to know that the question that you just posed is more of a school district question as opposed to where Ray was coming from, which is just an accuracy question, like how all we're caring about is passing our property value study, like we want to pass that well.
right, I
And
want
so.
to have a balanced budget,
Right.
it has to, and have, you know.
And part of that is just not on top of the, like your example was $4 million. On top of the 4 million, like if we were outside of the local value, if it was the state value, then the school district would write a check on top of that because they would say that we were too low as far as values. And we want to spend this money to get some data. As far as the accuracy is concerned, Travis, to that question, I won't know until I have it and actually see that that's a real sale, like boom. But from what we gathered with Eamon and Ray, the people that have it are like, yeah, this is the real deal, like, because it's what the state is using as well.
I mean, that's
Pretty good endorsement.
no, yeah, I agree.
So, just know that, as far as the $7,000, you know, I'm gonna pull it out of one of the, you know, the appraisal, like in my appraisal budget line item. And I'll probably just be strong this year, you know, I'll be $7,000 over, I mean, let's. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that's,
Yeah, I'm not paying.
in the grand scheme of things,
I'll pick up half of it.
and in the grand scheme of things, I always do budget, not only budget reviews, but I always do financials. And you're looking at that line item, and at the end of the day, you're looking at the percentage over the number of months, and then you look at the bottom line. You know, that's really where it's at, so. Great.
So do we,
I will run it by this entire board. We can do a budget resolution if you want to. But I want to act on it quickly. I'll do whatever the board wants me to do.
does he need board approval to do that?
Well, that's why I was suggesting that we come up with a dollar amount that allows him to make a budget adjustment and get it done. Superintendent has 50 grand.
So, yeah,
So I'm
and
not-
we probably talked about that previously.
We talked
in
about it,
another
but we
meeting.
never passed. So I think it's time between now and next meeting for us to do that.
What do you think it's gonna cost?
It's gonna cost probably less than $7,000.
Are you serious?
That's the initial figure. that
You're buying a one-time snapshot.
You're buying a report, you're buying probably
I was
60,
thinking it was gonna be more.
you're
than
probably
this. Why are we-
buying what?
Spend it.
600
Meals
pages.
on $7,000.
You're buying 600 pages.
If your accuracy is, what, yeah.
But at the same time, we don't. Actually.
Yeah.
So we have to.
But if his. You know,
Can he call,
I can't,
can he call you to buy it?
5,000.
Yeah, he has no.
the way it is presented to me,
Or you can make a motion, or you
It's
can
just
make a motion not to exceed 20,000.
They can't do it.
Oh, it's-
And we don't have dollars, so. I might have if you can do that.
Did that need work for school then?
Why is this?
Yeah,
I don't know why.
If we're spending, we're increasing.
Well, first, I would say, he's saying, I want to buy it, if it doesn't exceed $7,000. Okay, you can apologize later.
and you know, that's a great point, Mrs. Barbaugh brought up a really good point. And our latest budget has a line item of $72,000 in the budget, which we just articulated was $2 and something cents per parcel if you do it out. And this is 1/10 of that number. You want to be proactive or reactive? Does it take both? Probably. I don't know. I'm just giving you information that we can get better information. I want to use it.
Oh, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I was just figuring out how we do it. That's
Well,
all.
I'm just doing a budget.
Yeah, do we need an action item? I mean, need to do a
No.
budget? No? Okay.
When he comes back though, for a budget amendment, when he goes back to talk about his budget at the end, he'll have to have a budget amendment presented at that point.
So I only do financial reports in part of my chief appraiser report. So like in January, I'll give you the breakdown of what we spent. And then in April, there's an audit done with that financial year of 2022. So if I overspend in a line item, that's going to be borne out in the audit. It's what it's going to be. As far as, you know, doing a resolution for a particular year, you can absolutely do it if you want to. And therefore, everybody's informed, the school district's informed, the cities are informed, that I'm saying that as the chief, hey, I got new information from the last time we did the budget, which was in June of 22, is when this board said, hey, this is the budget, and then all of the entities said, yeah, that budget's fine, because they didn't say anything. And then it was approved in August by this board. And now we're saying, hey, I'd like to add $7,000 to that. If you want to do that in a written format, we can do that in a written format. It doesn't bother
You
me.
don't have to do it that way at all. All you really have to do is identify a category that you think you might have a part of $7,000 remaining. And you spend the money. And then if it needs to be adjusted before you get to the year end, you do so. Just as though you budget for legal fees. Do you have to come back and make a budget amendment to make more legal fees because they went up? No, you just, and that's what the school district is.
There you go.
So
Very good.
I just wanted to inform you that I'm excited about having this.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, if you come for $100,000, we might have had this, but it sounds great.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
just-
lovely
we'll
as
just like
other
to say,
people
we'll
jump
do
in
it
for
our-
their paycheck.
On board fee. Okay,
I don't think I have anything else. Was there anything else that I reminded you?
And what about, last thing we talked about generator, we were gonna get the throw switch, it's.
It's still, as soon as I, get back with,
got changed, or is it somebody else?
no, it's a company that did all our interior work here. I'm gonna get with them, but I want to incorporate that into one of the larger bids, and then Jack can just put his portion in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
or anybody.
And then on the last minute, it said on here that you were going to look into. What we're doing about Anna and figure out if she could not, were we gonna get information on that?
Yeah, I don't have that yet.
Right,
Where is that question answered?
That question is answered.
legal, so you were gonna ask legal.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Jim about it.
About allowing Anna to vote due to her being considered part of the quorum.
Doesn't make any sense to me for her to be.
I agree with
that.
that, no, it's weird. It's. It doesn't make sense.
All right.
And the other thing is that,
It's when it's in the chamber.
the other thing that y'all talked about was the paying the ARB members on work frequently, which we can absolutely do, so. I don't mind paying them on a quarterly.
I was surprised to learn
What?
that.
You
You don't
know,
get paid
that
till
here,
season wraps up.
yeah, on a
Oh.
quarterly basis.
Just gonna make sure everybody comes on meetings. You know, the paychecks are early, yeah.
Just give it to them as they've earned it, not necessarily. That way around 6,000.
Okay, so now back to the, you wanna look at Amy, or you can.
Well, let me say this before Amy came in.
Oh, okay.
Comes in. We will now move into a closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.072 for work on the chief appraiser's review.
So in the closed session, we do more than